After a week in Vegas, it's time to experience a different kind of heat. NASCAR is headed back to Miami, where to get into a groove,
that car went straight.
you have to bust a move.
Look how close this is.
So catch a wave, better yet, catch a ride. Around the Track starts now.
NASCAR takes its talents to the 305, but they're all looking for that #1 spot out in Miami. Welcome into the fastest half hour in sports. This is Around the Track. Carla Metz, Gabe McDonald, and I would say, Gabe, things starting to heat up in NASCAR's Top 2 Series.
Yeah, absolutely. A track favorite on deck. Dash for the cash returns in the Xfinity Series, and we've got one of the most popular guys on pit road joining us today. None other than Rocko Williams, ready to break everything down. Plus, going to go one-on-one with last week's winner out in Vegas, the driver of the Wood Brothers number 21 Ford Mustang, Mr. Josh Berry.
That's right, but for now, the green flag drops right now, and it's home sweet Homestead. Homestead-Miami, one of the most popular tracks among NASCAR drivers, and it's not because of the nightlife or the weather. This place has options if you're talking to drivers. Multiple grooves in that track that actually get better as the weekend goes on. Opportunities, of course, for passing and a pit road that doesn't require a mosh pit entrance or an exit. You've got to have a complete team effort here, though, if you want to win. And drivers know that Miami heat, it can get to some as well.
It's the most unique mile and a half because the straightaways, it's the only mile and a half that's a true oval. And it is very, very slippery. The surface is very old, it's very abrasive, it really wears the tires out, which sounds like a bad thing, but is actually a good thing because it allows the cars to slide around and makes passing there one of the easiest tracks to pass at.
Unique racetrack, a lot of tire fall off, can run multiple lanes, running the fence is fast for sure, but it can also be treacherous. I really like Homestead. It's been a good racetrack for me to go to, and a driver can make a decent difference there for sure.
Mile and a half. We've always been really fast at mile and a half. I feel like Tyler, obviously, winning Homestead was big. So I feel like we know what we need to do. It's just a matter of putting those processes and procedures in place and executing those. So yeah, it's like I said, good stretch of races. We just have to be ready to capitalize.
All right, now time for those track trends at Homestead-Miami. The last 9 races, 9 different winners, including last year's winner Tyler Reddick, who's searching for his first checkered flag in 2025. Will the Xfinity experience translate to Cup for Cole Custer, who won the Xfinity race for Haas last year? But it's been a rough go so far in his return to Cup racing. His best finish this year, 25th in Daytona. It's been a tale of 2 stories for RFK Racing. Brad Keselowski will make his 550th consecutive start this weekend, fresh off his best finish of the season out in Vegas, that being 11th. Meanwhile, the team's workhorse, Chris Buescher in the 17, looking to change his fortune here at Homestead. He's never had a top 10 in Miami. And of course, you got to watch out for the Trackhouse boys as well. Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain both placed in the top 5 here in 2024. They had Cup rookie Shane Van Gisbergen, who's still trying to get his footing on the oval tracks. And of course, always got to watch out for Kyle Busch. 3 top 10s in the first 5 races this year, and he's a past winner at Homestead as well. NASCAR got rid of putting yellow stripes on rookies, so we won't do it to this guy, but we've got a first-timer here on Around the Track this week.
That's right. You've seen him on the big screens at tracks, and you've seen him on pit road because he is a legend going over the wall for multiple teams. Now, of course, he's running his own agency, training athletes for tomorrow. I love that. We welcome in Dion Rocko Williams. We're going to call you Rocko on this show, but it's about time we finally got you on.
Very kind words. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, especially talking pit stops. You know, this is 21 years, and I feel like I can talk pit stops all day.
Yeah, we briefly talked about it too, but this is a track that many of the drivers love here, whether it's in the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, on the CW, but the championship race used to be here. I think a lot of people would maybe like to see it go back there, but what is it about Miami that drivers love? Well,
just a little tidbit. I have a sneaky suspicion we might end up back there, but being that we did have championship racing at Homestead, a lot of emphasis was placed there for the teams. You wanted to have good notes there, as well as being that it was fun to drive. It was fun to compete at. The drivers really like showcasing when they're better than someone else. And with these cars, it was the great equalizer. We've had more winners than we have ever had since the introduction of this race car. So when you get to a track like Miami, and with all the tire compounds that we're figuring out, and I feel like these drivers and these teams know this car a lot. They're really excited because they can show why we're the best, why we're so good. And when we do end up going back and this race starts really validating who our champion is or deciding who our champion is, you're going to want to know how to run well there.
Absolutely. Now, Rocko, it's time for your wheelhouse. You've led some amazing pit teams, gotten Jeff Gordon, Chase Elliott to victory lane, just to name a few. So why are we seeing so many pit road errors this year? You look at Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe last week, they had some lost tires. Ryan Blaney's team said they had issues with lug nuts, even some jackman errors. Why do you think we're seeing so many issues on pit road so far this year?
It's natural to see these errors, or I wouldn't like to, they are mistakes, but this is a natural progression of how this goes so where teams find their limits. We were at a super speedway, pit stops don't really matter. Then we were at road courses and a short track, so pit stops are, we were working our way to our meat and potatoes of the schedule, which are the 1.5-mile tracks. They allow you to go wide open on your pit stops, but when you're practicing fast pit stops, there's only so much you can do at your practice facilities. You can do 7-second pit stops, 8-second pit stops consistently in what I call the parking lot 500, which is not at the racetrack. But when you go to the racetrack, the only barometer of how fast you can really go is at the racetrack in those conditions, and you have to push it. Now, I will say, teams have different personalities, just like they do in the NFL and stick and ball sports, right? Some teams push their athletes to do it. Maybe they have the depth to overcome suspensions or mistakes. Other teams teach their athletes to play it safe. You have to realize what strategy or how the coaching is going for those teams. You know, most of the top teams in the sport, they know that they can't pass another team unless they go a full second faster. But at the end of the day, when you have a crew chief who is in charge of the coaching, who wants to see progress and they want to see passing, they will push athletes and humans to do unrealistic expectations, because we all know as a human, you can't be perfect all the time, but you will have to test it every now and then. How fast can you go? And it's all about fundamentals and philosophy. It depends on what you're being told by your crew chief or coach, how you've been taught, and the camaraderie and how comfortable your teammates feel within each other. If there's any type of toxicity, disjointment, you're not going to be inclined to do that no-look stop, which is necessary to pull off an 8.
Absolutely important, too. I mean, you got to talk about just the strategy there, but also a future Hall of Famer in Kyle Larson, a guy who's been very good in Miami. Aside from that, he's also the only driver to win multiple stages so far this year, 3 of the last 9 wins on 1.5 miles, and he's also admitted that this track really suits him very well. Why has Kyle Larson been so successful here at Homestead?
Well, he likes to rip the top. You know, everyone knows that. Just like at all of our 1.5-mile tracks, there's multiple lanes. So you want to roll the lane that's less traveled by, which is a bit scary of some. Kyle Larson has no fear, not to mention, I think he just won a race earlier this week as well. So he is all about his craft, and he's not scared to put those cars in precarious situations. The big benefit of Kyle Larson now, in my opinion, he has a team now that can give him a car that allows him to stretch those limits. And he has a pit crew that will put him in, keep him in position most of the time. But when you have the attention of a Kyle Larson, where every single time you can enter the racetrack, you can win, you have to perform differently. And teams that aren't in that situation really can't relate to that. So it might seem the strategy that they're on is their own, but Kyle Larson has won 8 races in 1 year at a time. He's a champion. So if anybody is going to be good at 1.5 miles, which is the meat and potatoes of our circuit, it's got to be one of those drivers that are consistently in the top 5 every single week, and he is one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to make a quick pit stop of our own. Rocko going to stick around, but when we return, we talk to NASCAR's Man of the Hour.
Josh Berry and the Wood Brothers win in Las Vegas. Gives us...
As good as 101 wins sounds, Josh Berry probably thinks nothing sounds as sweet as the first. We'll talk with the newest Cup Series winner next in a Garage Confidential.
And there's about to be a whole lot of cash being thrown around in Miami, especially in the Xfinity Series on the CW. The dash for the cash is back. Who's eligible and how much are they racing for? That is on deck. And Rocko, you're in the entertainment biz, so you know all about that camera life for sure.
That's right, but say these NASCAR drivers hit the gas on a silver screen drive. Who's going to play them in a movie? We'll have that and more when Around the Track continues.
Welcome to NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Start your engine!
All we need is a little gasoline and a Xfinity Series. Saturday. Check your local listings.
Back here on Around the Track, there's more than just a trophy and stage points on the line in Miami for the Xfinity Series. Justin Allgaier, Jesse Love, Austin Hill, and Sam Mayer will compete for $100,000 in the first Dash for Cash race. Think of it as a race inside of the race. The best finisher between these four in Miami gets the pot. They got here by being the top finishers at Vegas last week, with Allgaier, of course, getting in victory lane. Mayer takes a spot for Eric Almirola because Almirola isn't a full-time driver. We'll do this again next week at Martinsville with the top four finishers of the race in Miami, racing for the money up there in Martinsville. Legendary pit guy turned super agent Rocko Williams rejoining us here on ATT. Rocko, who do you have your eye on in the Xfinity Series right now, and why?
In the Xfinity Series, even though the races are shorter and the pit stops, are 5 lug, I still love the Xfinity Series, and I'm watching Austin Hill. Watching that race last year, how he hawked down Cole Custer and managed his tires. It's so much easier to track someone down as opposed to leading the race. I really loved his interview at the end, how emotional he was. It really means something to Austin Hill. He's like the racer next door type of guy. I really love his passion and motivation. Besides that, I'm also going to look at the JGR Sports because they have all the Cup pit crews. And at the end of the day, it's going to be very important on pit stops there too. And you have less of them in the Xfinity Series. I'm going to watch the JGR cars, but mainly Austin Hill to see if he can do it again.
Yeah, he's looking good so far this year. And one guy who's no stranger to the Xfinity Series is currently the talk of the town in the Cup ranks. He joins Carla now in Garage Confidential.
After 53 starts in the Cup Series, he finally gets it done. Josh Berry joining us for Garage Confidential right now. Your first Cup Series win out in Las Vegas this past weekend. It was a sight to see. I know you were excited. You've had a lot of media throughout the week, but how special was that moment now that you've had some time to kind of reflect on everything?
Yeah, no, was an awesome weekend, right? And honestly, an awesome start of the year for us with the 21 team. Obviously, you never know when you're going to a new organization, a new team, and you obviously want to come out the gates and start the year strong. But I think, I feel like our performance really, nearly every week has exceeded our expectations. And I feel like we've been in contention, 3 out of the first 5 races. Definitely had a great car at Daytona too, and unfortunately got an accident. But I feel like, we're just kind of getting started really, and to go to Las Vegas and perform like we did, qualify well, race up front, and have things work out in the end and capitalize was a really awesome feeling.
I'm sure you have had a lot of people reach out to you after this first victory in the Cup Series. What's the one that maybe stands out the most to you, just kind of thinking back real quickly?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been, I've still been working on, I think I finally caught up on my text. There was probably close to 400. I mean, honestly, one of the most meaningful ones to me, was Mr. Hendrick and, the fellow drivers at Hendrick Motorsports and some of the key personnel there that I worked with throughout my opportunity when I was filling in for Chase, and then Alex. Having those guys reach out to me and how happy they were to see me, get that victory was really cool.
At the time that you did fill in for Hendrick Motorsports that year, did you realize in the moment how pivotal that was going to be for your career?
Yeah, I did, because it was such a unique circumstance because, I was kind of in the midst of negotiating with Stewart Haas at the time to drive the 4-car. Because that actually all started before the season in 2024. So I was kind of cast into a full-blown audition in real time that I never saw coming and never knew was going to happen.
I know you're still kind of celebrating this win, but I'm sure your team's already looking ahead to Homestead-Miami this weekend. When you hear other fellow drivers talk about Homestead-Miami, this is a racetrack that they really like to race on. Do you kind of adhere to that? Do you think this is going to be a pretty fun race this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I think Homestead puts on a great race, especially with the next gen car and how the next gen car is raced on these 1.5 miles. I think it's set up to have a really, really awesome race. And the fun part about Homestead is there's a lot made out of the running the wall type line, but you can make lots of different lines work. The bottom works fairly well. The middle, obviously the top is really important there. So I mean, whenever you have multiple grooves like that on a racetrack and tire fall off like we see there, it usually puts on a good show.
We know how important that's going to be both for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series this weekend. Before I let you go, I know what your time in the Xfinity Series kind of meant for your career there with JRM, but I got to ask you, have you kept up with the Xfinity Series this season? And if so, do you see a lot of talent or maybe like what's a driver that's at that level right now that you think could potentially come up to Cup pretty soon?
Yeah, no, I watch those races pretty much every week, and you all have been doing an amazing job with the broadcast. It's been a lot of fun to watch. The Xfinity Series puts on some great racing, and it truly does put on some great racing. And to me, I think there's a lot of young guys in that series that are showing a lot of potential. Obviously, you got Connor and what he's been able to do. But to me, I'm a little more leaning into Carson Quapple. He's somebody that I've known really well. And spent a lot of time with, and can't wait for the day to see him win his first race.
Oh, they don't need to make a movie about me. I'm not interesting enough.
We think you're interesting, Alex Bowman. We asked a handful of Cup Series drivers a major question. Which actor would they want to play them in a movie about their life? Their answers up next, right here on Around the Track.
The Daytona 500 champ is coming to Around the Track next week. The driver of the Hendrick Motorsports 24, William Byron, will be here in studio to talk all things Martinsville and maybe his brush up with Morgan Freeman. Plus, we'll talk with Xfinity Series star Harrison Burton. All that next week on Around the Track. Check your local listings for when you can catch ATT on your local Nexstar station. And Rocko, we got you back in here. I got a really big question. If you could have one person play you in a movie, who would it be?
We'll just take my name and scratch off the O at the end, and we'll say The Rock, you know?
I like it. I can see that.
That's a very easy answer, and yeah, I can definitely see the resemblance there as well. We posed the very same question to some of our drivers. Some had some realistic answers, and some, well, take a listen for yourself. Before the NASCAR season kicked off, we had to break the monotony a little bit during Media Day. So we had fun with drivers in the field by asking one simple question. Some knew the answer right away. We're asking all the guys this week, if you could pick one actor to play you in a movie.
Tom Hanks. Matt Damon. Sylvester Stallone. Chris Pratt. Colin Farrell.
Some needed a little more time to think.
I never know how to answer that, and I still don't. Oh, they don't need to make a movie about me. I'm not interesting enough.
Who did I say the other day? Oh, give me Zac Efron. He's a good-looking fella. Yeah.
An actor. Oh, man. I think for my age now, Tom Cruise would be good, right?
I don't know. That's a good one. Maybe Jake Gyllenhaal. How about that?
And some quite literally thought big.
Chris Hemsworth, but he'll probably have to work out a little bit more.
Do they have to look like you?
No, anybody.
Well, I'm a big fan of The Rock, so that'd be cool if he could play me, but I am not even close to his size, so it probably wouldn't work. It would just be cool.
While others had a common name in mind.
Matthew McConaughey. I felt like I was fast on that.
I always go with Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey, he's a good actor.
Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, man, he's just good.
And in true Joey Logano fashion, the reigning Cup Series champ provided us with the ultimate mic drop.
I don't know. I think there's only one Joe.
Well, there is no better feeling in racing than burning it down after taking the checkered flag. Tyler Reddick did it here. SVG has been looking for his first on an oval, but who are we betting on? We got Victory Lane locks next.
Let's do a little betting, shall we? DraftKings odds going into the week a little more bunched than what it was in Vegas last week. But one thing didn't change. They still see Kyle Larson as the odds-on favorite, despite the 5 not winning a race so far in 2025. He's at 4-1, with Tyler Reddick and Ryan Blaney behind him at 5-1. Willie B, 6.5-1. Christopher Bell rounds out the top 5 at 9-1. Good value bets here this week. Denny Hamlin, strong showings all year. He's at 11-1 to win at Homestead, along with Chase Elliott. Well, Josh Berry shocked us all last week, which means you can never count anyone out on Sunday.
That's right, Rocco. This is your first time making a Victory Lane lock, so first time guess, you get to go first. Who you got in Miami?
In Miami, I'm going with Tyler Reddick. The way that he hawked down Ryan Blaney, stood in front of Denny Hamlin, and, you know, right behind him and swooped up to the top on older tires with Michael Jordan there. You can see my shoes and know who the vibes I'm feeling. I'm definitely going with Tyler Reddick and that MJ team to do it again.
They have a strong showing so far this year, and I'm obviously rolling with Kyle Larson. I think he's due for a win. He's the favorite for a reason, starving for a win. Pair of third-place finishes, coming off a ninth-place finish at Vegas. He won at Miami in the fall in 2022, 4 of the top 5 finishes at Homestead, so I think the 5 gets back in victory lane for the second Hendrick win this year.
All right, I am not going to be creative at all. I'm going out of Rocco's book this week. I'm taking Tyler Reddick, won last season in the fall with an incredible move. You mentioned that, Rocko, on the old tires to finish that. He's also been in the top 5 in 4 out of the last 5 races in Miami. They've had the speed at times this season, but I think the confidence of this track kind of puts them over the edge this weekend. Give me Tyler Reddick in victory lane for his first win of the season. But that's going to do it for us on Around the Track this weekend. Enjoy the race at Miami, and we'll see you for some short track racing in Martinsville next week.